Having a family and homeschooling children is not all that different from managing and running a business. If you think about it, there are still people to lead in both scenarios, there are schedules and finances to manage, and there are projects that need to get finished. I would say there's just as much work happening within the context of your home as there is in any given business. Before I talk about the 6 activities that are required and necessary for doing any kind of work, I want you to know that your each member of your family have a genius in 2 of them. And when I say genius, when I use that word, I'm not just meaning that they're good at it, but I mean that it's where you derive energy. It's satisfying to do that kind of work for you, and it fuels you. But then there's the 2 kinds of work, on the other hand, that are the opposite. They drain us of energy. We call those our working frustrations. And so you have a working genius on one side, you have working frustration on the other. And then you have 2 of them that are just kind of in the middle. They're things that we can do, and we get a little bit of energy from, but if we are doing them for too long, eventually they are draining to us. And so in the context of your family and how I see the 6 types of working genius being valuable for you as a family is simply just building an understanding of who you are and as a family and as individuals so that you can learn to communicate better and work more productively together. Because when we have understanding of each other, it's just natural for us to then be prone to give more grace. When I don't understand something, I'm very prone to be judgmental. I'm very prone to be quick to just shut something down. I'm not very gracious in that moment. But the more I spend time with people, the more I get to know them, the more that I'm involved in their story and in their life, and I understand who they are, I can be gracious. It doesn't mean that we abdicate any responsibilities for anything, but we can be gracious and learn to work within that understanding. And so, secondly, it would help you and those of you who have high school students who are on the verge of graduating. When we can give them a tool that helps them have some self-awareness and begin to develop that and be a part of that process and part of that learning environment where they are developing some self-awareness, it's going to help them to know what kinds of work they may or may not want to pursue going forward. And so, because there are going to be some jobs that are simply just going to require more of us to work in certain different activities. And if those activities are at the very least, in our frustrations, those are probably some jobs that maybe we shouldn't consider. Now, I'm not going to stereotype every specific career and jobs because every job is a 6-letter job, and people will lead differently. People will work in those jobs with a different understanding and a different perspective. So it's not necessarily about choosing a career or not choosing a career. It can be like that because some careers are a little bit more prone to one activity than another. For example, sales. I would say sales is highly a galvanizing job. And if you have a sales job, but you have a frustration in galvanizing, chances are you may not be enjoying the work that you do for very long. Now, if you manage a sales company, that might be different. And so again, it's not necessarily about career or an industry necessarily, because every job has 6 letters. And speaking of 6 letters, let me get to what those are. First is the activity and the genius of wonder. And that is the person, when they have that genius, they are the ones who love seeing untapped potential and the possibilities, and they identify the need for change or improvement. And then that gets handed over to invention. And those are the people who love creating solutions that are novel and brand new. They like kind of a blank slate. And then it gets handed over to discernment. Those are people who just have the natural intuition to know if that solution that's been presented is viable or not, or maybe it needs to be tweaked. And it's not based on expertise, but simply just their gut feel that they have around a wide array of topics and experiences. And so next is galvanizing. And this is where at the end of discernment, as an activity, there's a decision that's been made, and then we need people to galvanize. And people who are a genius at galvanizing, they love to rally the troops around this thing and say, hey, we are moving in this direction. This is important. And they're beginning to get everyone organized. but we also need to respond to the galvanizing. And so the next genius and the next activity is enablement. And people with the genius of enablement, they love to respond and work on other people's terms. They're totally okay with that, to get things off the ground and begin to see tangible results. And they kind of have a bit of an intuition to know what to do next, or they're willing to figure that out. And we often will call them team players. And then lastly, we have tenacity. And those are the people who help us take things across the finish line. They like to make a tick off the to-do list, and they love to get things done. But not just get things done, but they help us to stay in tune with what our original vision was. And so it's not just about checking it off the box or off the list, but it's about helping us get done according to our original vision. And so I believe that this is super helpful for families. I've been doing this actually in the context of couples and have done workshops for couples, but now doing a bit of an experiment and seeing what we can do with the 6 types of working genius in the context of families, especially just your family dynamics and relationships, but B, especially for those of you who have students that are soon to be graduating. And I think this will be super insightful along with your guidance in helping them take steps forward after graduation.